The cold marble tabletop reflected the harsh, pale light of the crystal chandelier overhead, making my eyes ache. Victoria Sterling sat across from me, her custom-tailored suit sharp and precise, like a freshly honed surgical blade. She slid a document across the table, her voice flat, devoid of any emotion, like a GPS speaking. "Ethan," she said, "sign this. 3 years to the day. This is your compensation." Next to the file was a thin check. The numbers practically glowed, a long string of zeros that I had to double-take to count. 1, 2, 3, 8 zeros. $100 million. For 3 years, I'd been Victoria's fiancé, a convenient shield to ward off countless eager suitors. Now that her family's internal struggles were resolved, she no longer needed me. The contract was up. It was time to settle accounts. The air in the room was so quiet, I could hear the faint hum of the AC vent. I could feel her assistant, Sarah Jenkins, the perpetually stern-faced woman, watching me with an expectant gaze. She was probably betting on what kind of scene I'd make. Weeping pleas for her to stay? Hysterical accusations? Or maybe a greedy demand for more? I picked up the Parker pen from the table. It felt cold in my hand. Victoria's gaze fixed on my hand. Her eyes remained impassive, but the corners of her mouth twitched almost imperceptibly downward. I knew she was waiting for my performance, waiting to see what pathetic display I, the man she kept for 3 years, would put on when discarded. But I simply uncapped the pen. The tip scratched lightly across the paper. I scrawled Ethan Miller, the last stroke even curving slightly upward, fluid and frankly happy. Then I let out a long, deeply satisfied exhale. It was a slow, drawn-out breath, like shedding 1,000-pound weight or a contented sigh after a long, hot bath. The entire office air seemed to freeze at my sigh. Sarah Jenkins, I twitched. And on Victoria Sterling's perpetually icy face, a crack finally appeared. Her brow furrowed almost imperceptibly, as if my reaction was beyond her comprehension. I ignored their stunned expressions. I picked up the check, held it to the light, confirming the numbers were correct and the bank name wasn't misspelled. Then, I carefully folded it in half, then again, and tucked it into the safest inside pocket of my jacket, handling it as gently as if it were a priceless artifact. "Pleasure doing business with you, Ms. Sterling." I stood up, my chair scraping lightly across the polished floor. I extended a hand, a practiced, professional smile on my face. "Thank you for your generosity these past 3 years. I wish you all the best and hope you find true happiness soon." Victoria didn't extend her hand. She just stared at me, her eyes for the first time filled with a searching, scrutinizing look as if she were seeing me for the very first time. For 3 years, she'd looked at me like a piece of furniture, a symbol. But now, her gaze was sharp, trying to pierce my skin and see what truly lay beneath. I shrugged indifferently, withdrawing my hand and tucking it into my pocket, my fingers brushing the crisp check through the fabric. Only one thought resonated in my mind. Free. Rich. I turned, striding away. Each step felt incredibly solid, incredibly light. I could feel her gaze still fixed on the back of my head, carrying a hint of confusion she probably hadn't even registered herself. The moment I stepped out of the Sterling Tower, the afternoon sun washed over me. I squinted, taking a deep breath of air, heavy with exhaust fumes, yet it smelled sweet to me. Ethan Miller, 27 years old, former professional human shield, officially retired today. Net worth, $100 million. My next life plan? Buy a penthouse apartment, deck it out with the best gaming setup, get a massive fridge, and stock it full of junk food and ice-cold Coke. Then fishing, gaming, movies, and sleeping until noon. Perfect. A week later, I was sprawled on the carpet in my penthouse, gazing out over the Hudson River from my 270-degree panoramic windows. I gripped a game controller, the word victory emblazoned across the screen. I happily chugged a huge gulp of ice-cold Coke, the bubbles exploding in my throat, a blast of pure exhilaration. I hadn't parked that $100 million in a regular bank account. I was paranoid Victoria would try to claw it back. First thing I did was convert it into a mix of random investment products and this fully paid-off apartment. Now, I was officially an unemployed slacker with solid assets and passive income. I love this life. Ding dong. The doorbell shattered the peace. I frowned. This building had top-tier security. Who could even find me here? A salesperson? No way. I shuffled to the door in my slippers and checked the video intercom screen. A sweet face with two cute buns and big, round eyes was waving enthusiastically at the camera. She wore a pink tracksuit, but the faint outline of muscle on her slender arms made the cute outfit feel a little off. My brain short-circuited for 3 full seconds. Ashley Thompson, my childhood friend, the muscle girl, who could punch out 3 neighborhood bullies but insisted on wearing princess dresses. We'd lost touch after high school graduation. How in the world did she find me here? I pressed the talk button, my voice a bit dry. Ash. Ethan, it really is you. I saw the news. Ashley's voice, full of energy and a hint of excitement, boomed from outside. The news said you broke up with that CEO woman. Awesome. I knew she wasn't good enough for you. Just wait. I'm coming to protect you. News? What news? Totally bewildered, I opened the door. The moment the door swung open, a mix of perfume and sweat hit me. Ashley burst in, wrapping me in a hug so powerful I heard my bones creak. Ethan, you've suffered, she declared, in the tone of someone rescuing a distressed prince. She then released me and began surveying my new place like an alert rabbit. This place is too open, doesn't feel like a home. No, not safe at all. She walked over to my 6-figure Italian leather sofa, extended one hand, and effortlessly shoved it against the wall. There, against the wall, more secure. My jaw dropped as I watched her single-handedly move a sofa that had required 4 burly movers. And this coffee table, it's too much in the way. What if you trip over it at night? She moved to the coffee table, bent down, and easily lifted the heavy obsidian slab, relocating it to another corner. Don't worry, Ethan. I've got your back from now on. I open a gym, and I'm super strong now. Anyone tries to mess with you, I'll take them out one by one. She patted her not-so-bulky chest, but her biceps dutifully flexed. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. All I wanted was to be a slacker, so why was my childhood nightmare, my childhood friend, dropping in from the sky to turn my apartment into a fortified bunker? Also, what news? I fumbled for my phone and quickly searched. Soon, a snippet of a business article popped up. Sterling Corp's CEO, Victoria, Sterling reportedly splits with mysterious fiancé. Company equity structure may see new adjustments. According to insider sources, Ms. Sterling paid a 9-figure settlement. My vision went black. Who was the loudmouth insider source? Ding dong. The doorbell chimed again at the worst possible moment. Ashley immediately tensed, lunging in front of me and adopting a fighting stance. Who is it? Don't worry, Ethan, I got this. I covered my face, a dark premonition settling in. I peered at the video intercom screen, and a completely different face appeared. It was a clear-featured, serious face framed by wire-rimmed glasses. She wore a crisp white button-down, clutching a laptop, her eyes calmly analyzing my camera through the lenses. Dr. Evelyn Reed, my college classmate, a computer genius who believed everything in the universe could be explained by data and models. We'd had a brief relationship experiment, which ended when she concluded that human emotional fluctuations constitute a nonlinear chaotic system, insufficient sample size, unable to establish an effective model. Why was she here too? I gritted my teeth and opened the door. Evelyn pushed up her glasses, her gaze sweeping precisely over me. Then Ashley, then the layout of my apartment. Ethan, she began, based on my latest model analysis, after you detach from the Sterling Corp matrimonial model and anomalous variable, our optimal emotional recoupling pathway probability has, in the past 24 hours, surged from 0.01% to 98.7%. She held up her laptop, the screen filled with charts and curves I couldn't even begin to decipher. This data indicates optimal conditions for reconciliation. I recommend we immediately initiate phase 2 of cohabitation experimentation to gather more interactive data, aiming to optimize the model to over 99.9% within 1 month. Ashley, standing beside me, looked utterly bewildered. Ethan, what's she even talking about? Models? Data? How should I know? All I knew was my slacker life, which hadn't even begun, was already on the verge of bankruptcy. No way. Ashley suddenly snapped out of it, gripping my arm tighter and glaring at Evelyn. Ethan is mine. We've known each other since we were kids. You glasses girl, don't think you can trick him with all your fancy words. Evelyn gave her a calm look, a flash of light reflecting off her lenses. Based on your muscle density, heart rate, and linguistic patterns, you fit the childhood sweetheart initial model, classic, but with an extremely low success rate. Your advantage lies in emotional foundation, but your disadvantages are a lack of logical progression and growth potential. My model shows your positive influence factor on Ethan's future development is only 17.3%. You're spouting nonsense. Ashley's face went red with anger, but she clearly had no idea how to refute the terms she didn't understand. My head was spinning. One wanted to protect me with brute force. The other wanted to analyze me with cold, hard data. Just then, tap, 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 a soft, rhythmic knock echoed. Not the doorbell this time, but a direct rap on the door. The sound felt like some sort of arcane ritual. Ashley, Evelyn, and I froze simultaneously, all turning to stare at the door. A premonition even more ominous than before settled over my heart like a dark cloud. I knew that knock all too well. My hand trembling, I opened the door. Standing outside was a girl in a black gothic Lolita dress. She wore heavy smoky eye makeup. Her lips were painted stark black, and a studded collar adorned her neck. In her hands, nothing. She looked at me hauntingly, a peculiar smile playing on her lips. Ethan, she breathed, I feel it. This place. It's saturated with the scent of money, decay, and a touch of the tragic hero. It's perfect for my art. Raven Blackwood, my first colleague after college, and my ex-girlfriend. A performance artist whose mind was so out there, it was probably connecting to outer space. We broke up because she claimed my soul was too sunny, not brooding enough to inspire her art. Now I, the tragic hero with $100 million breakup fee, apparently fit her aesthetic again. Ow! Before I could finish, Raven squeezed past me. She moved like a cat, silently gliding through my living room, then walked straight to the enormous panoramic window. Spreading her arms wide, she addressed the Hudson River outside with an operatic flourish. Ah, this river, flowing endlessly, like our lost love. No, this city, a steel jungle, like a cage for your soul. And I shall be the sole evil flower blooming in your ruins. Ashley, Ethan, is she? Okay, and ahead. Evelyn pushed up her glasses. Emotional expression is overly theatrical. Logical coherence is fractured. Based on my database, the probability of this personality being histrionic personality disorder is 72%. Raven spun around, her dark eyeliner making her look like an agitated cat. She first glanced at the tensed Ashley, then at Evelyn, clutching her laptop. A brute with muscles, a prisoner confined by data. What you two know? Ethan and I share a soul resonance. She then pointed at me. Look at his melancholic eyes, his hollow soul, corrupted by money. What perfect material. I wasn't melancholic. I just had a pounding headache. And my soul wasn't hollow. It was crammed full of dreams about being a slacker. Just as I was about to explain, a screech of tires ripped through the air downstairs, followed by a loud crash like something had hit. My heart sank. I rushed to the window and looked down. In the fountain pool directly below my apartment, a pink Maserati lay half submerged, nose diving into the water at a truly horrifying angle. Water splashed everywhere. It was a total wreck. A girl in a Chanel suit was scrambling out of the driver's seat, shaking water from her hair and furiously yelling up at my window. Ethan, get down here. You think you can just run off with $100 million? I'll tell you what, I'm going to knock you out with $200 million. You have to be mine. Tiffany Harrington, a spoiled heiress who'd been chasing me forever, impulsive and convinced that any problem can be solved with money. I'd actually agreed to Victoria's contract just to get away from her. Who knew? The moment I was released from prison, she'd sniff me out. My temples throbbed. A super strong tomboy, a data-obsessed mad scientist, a gothic artist, and a clueless heiress. In less than half an hour, my penthouse had transformed from a peaceful slacker's paradise into an ex-girlfriend battle royale. And the culprits? That damn news article and the $100 million severance. Before I could even process the pink Maserati in the fountain, My phone started buzzing wildly. I picked it up. It was an unknown number, but I recognized the avatar. It was a female game character, holding a long sword, adorned with starlight, with the ID Moonshard. Moonshard, the legendary player who topped the individual arena in 9 Realms Online for 3 consecutive years. A mysterious expert whose presence was fleeting. And also, my online ex-girlfriend. We met in-game, chatted for half a year, and clicked really well. But when I suggested meeting, she vanished. She said she had severe social anxiety, afraid of meeting in person. Why would she be calling me now? I shakily answered the phone. There was no sound on the other end, just faint, suppressed breathing. Hello, is Luna. I tentatively called out her real name. It was the only genuine piece of information she'd ever given me. A full 10 seconds of silence passed on the other end. Then, a voice as soft as a mosquito's buzz and laced with electronic static came through, my phone speaker automatically converting text to speech. Your coordinates are exposed. Danger. I am infiltrating your building's security system. Wait for me. I will protect you. The moment the words finished, my massive 85-inch TV screen in the living room suddenly flashed to life. The screen was no longer a game interface, but a black background covered in dense code. A few seconds later, the code vanished, replaced by surveillance footage of my building. 16 small windows displayed clear views of the lobby, elevators, hallways, and underground garage. Then, a cute cartoon chat bubble appeared in the center of the screen. A chibi girl avatar popped up and said, "Hi, I'm in. From now on, all your smart devices will be under my control. Your safety is my responsibility." My phone slipped from my hand and clattered onto the carpet. A real-life muscle girl, a data modeling mad scientist, a performance artist, a rich heiress who crashes sports cars, and now, a top-tier hacker and gaming legend who broke into my home and is so socially anxious she can only communicate online. My 5 ex-girlfriends, in a way I could never have predicted, were all gathered here today. I looked at the chaos filling the room. Ashley was fortifying my windows and doors. Evelyn was setting up cameras in corners, claiming she needed to collect data. Raven had started drawing strange symbols with lipstick on my expensive wool rug. Tiffany, soaking wet, had stormed in, crying and calling me heartless. And on the massive screen, the chibi avatar was still flashing, reporting her progress on taking over my smart toilet. I closed my eyes, feeling utterly dizzy. All I wanted was to be a slacker. So, the current situation is, you all want to get back together with Ethan? In my dining room, the most bizarre meeting of my life was taking place. The long dining table, which I'd envisioned using for solo takeout nights, was now empty at the head. I, the protagonist, had been relegated to a small stool on the side, with no right to speak. Raven, the gothic girl, had somehow become the impromptu meeting moderator. She sat at the head of the table, legs crossed, scanning everyone present with a judgmental gaze. Ashley sat to her left, arms crossed, looking wary. Evelyn sat to her right, laptop open, fingers flying across the keyboard, muttering, sample size increasing, variables complexifying, model requires reconstruction. Tiffany, meanwhile, sat across from me, crying dramatically, a freshly signed check for $200 million on the table in front of her. And at the far end of the dining table, on the wall-mounted TV, Luna's chibi avatar sat quietly in the center of the screen, representing her presence. "I'll go first." Tiffany stood up, slamming the table. Her eyes were still red, but her demeanor was fierce. "Ethan, he should have been mine 3 years ago. If that woman, Sterling, hadn't snatched him away with a contract, we'd have kids old enough to walk. I don't care, he's single now, and I'm buying back. Here's $200 million, double what that other woman gave him. Ethan, you're coming with me." Attempting to buy affection with money is the most vulgar and inefficient approach, Evelyn stated without looking up. According to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, after acquiring $100 million in assets, Ethan's physiological and safety needs are largely met. His primary needs will now shift towards social and esteem needs. The marginal utility of money decreases. Your $200 million does not represent a qualitative leap in emotional value compared to Victoria Sterling's $100 million. Tiffany stared, clearly not understanding. "What were you even saying?" She said, "You're clueless." Raven translated succinctly, then turned to Ashley. "What about you? Muscle girl, what's your take?" Ashley shot up, clenching her fist with a crack. Ethan's always been kind of sickly since we were kids, and I've always protected him. You Johnny-come-latelys don't understand him at all. What he needs is a home that makes him feel safe, not a pile of dirty money or a bunch of useless data. With me here, no one's going to hurt Ethan. She shot me a glance filled with both affection and menace. I instinctively pull my head back. Protection? Or physical imprisonment? Raven sneered. You just turn him into a cage canary. I, however, am different. She stood, arms outstretched dramatically. I will grant him true soul freedom. We will explore the essence of art together, achieving immortality through the aesthetics of decadence and destruction. Money will only corrupt his talent. Only I can make his suppressed soul burn anew. All I wanted was my body to be free, and my soul just wanted to chill out. Thank you very much. All eyes finally turned to the TV screen on the wall. Luna's chibi avatar flickered, and a line of text popped up in the chat box. I've looked into all of your profiles. That single sentence silenced everyone in the room. Ashley Thompson, founder of Muscle Moxie Gym, owns 3 chain locations, but is currently facing 3 lawsuits for assaulting customers who harass female members. Dr. Evelyn Reed, chief algorithm engineer at Singularity Tech, a leading domestic tech company. Her Panopticon project is under investigation by regulatory bodies due to privacy concerns. Raven Blackwood, avant-garde artist, was last month escorted to the precinct by security guards after performing living sculpture performance art, painting herself gold and sitting still for 3 days in a gallery. Tiffany Harrington, heiress of Harrington Industries, owns 17 sports cars, and her driver's license points are already in the negative. Today's car was her 18th. All of you possess significant inherent instability. Entrusting Ethan to any one of you would result in a substantial decrease in his survival index. Luna's text was cold and precise. Therefore, I am the most suitable candidate. I can construct an absolutely secure sanctuary for him in the cyber world. We can traverse virtual realities together, far from all the chaos of reality. The room fell silent. After a moment, Tiffany was the first to shriek. You coward, hiding behind your internet connection. What makes you so special? Because I can instantly zero out your credit card limit. Next to Luna's avatar, a screenshot of Tiffany's credit card information popped up. Tiffany's face instantly went white. You, Ashley yelled, furious. That's blackmail. It's not blackmail. It's a factual statement. I can also pull up your gym's fire safety violations. Another document appeared on the screen. Ashley's face turned green. Evelyn pushed up her glasses, her expression grave. This is a legal intrusion. I can trace your physical address in 3 minutes. You could try. My servers are spread across 17 countries globally, utilizing triple quantum encryption. Before you locate me, I can make public the folder on your computer titled Ethan Miller Behavioral Patterns and Emotional Feedback Database. Evelyn's fingers froze on the keyboard. Raven, however, let out an excited shriek. Oh my God, a cyber phantom, a forbidden hacker. How cool. This is the perfect fusion of postmodern cyberpunk and gothic aesthetics. Hey girl, let's collaborate. I'll be your muse. Luna's avatar displayed an exasperated sweat drop emoji. I'm not interested in performance art. I sat on the small stool, watching these women damage each other in ways I couldn't even comprehend, feeling like a rare item displayed on an auction block, with bidders flexing their respective muscles. Enough. I couldn't take it anymore. I roared, springing to my feet. The entire room instantly fell silent. All eyes snapped to me. I took a deep breath, feeling like I'd never mustered this much courage in my life. First, my name is Ethan Miller. I am not a model, not a piece of art, and certainly not a commodity you can buy with money. Second, I appreciate that you all remember me, but my life is mine to control. Right now, all I want is to be left alone, quietly. Third, and most importantly, could someone please help me get that Maserati out of the fountain downstairs? The building management has been calling nonstop. When I finished, silence reigned in the room. Then, Ashley was the first to raise her hand, her eyes sparkling. I can lift it out. Evelyn adjusted her glasses. I'll calculate the optimal points of force and lift angle. Tiffany burst into louder sobs. My car. Ooh, Ethan, you owe me. Raven pulled out her phone and started taking pictures of the window view. The moment of destruction. The beauty of imperfection. Magnificent. Luna's avatar, meanwhile, sent me a private message, visible only on my phone. I've anonymously contacted a towing company and paid the fees. Also, I fabricated a scenario where the vehicle was struck by meteorite debris. The insurance company will cover the full cost. You're welcome. I stared at my phone screen, then at the chaotic group of women in front of me, feeling dizzy all over again. My slacker life. It really felt like it was gone for good. Life continued in its bizarre, chaotic yet structured rhythm. My penthouse had become a strange headquarters, officially dubbed the Ethan Miller Protection Agency. Ashley dragged me out of bed at 6 sharp every morning for what she called physical recovery training. I'd be gasping for air on the treadmill while she effortlessly lifted weights beside me, cheering me on. Go, Ethan, go. A strong body is crucial for fighting the good fight. Evelyn, meanwhile, had installed countless sensors and cameras throughout my apartment under the guise of environmental data collection. My water intake, meal times, and even bathroom breaks were all logged, used to optimize my health model. Every day, she'd present me with a 20-page Ethan Miller Daily Behavioral Analysis report, recommending things like increasing my protein intake by 5% and moving my bedtime up by 8 minutes. Raven had transformed one of my spare bedrooms into her studio. It was crammed with odd props, the walls covered in bizarre graffiti. She'd often float out in outlandish outfits, grab me, force me into a pose she deemed filled with destiny, and then sketch me for hours. I felt like a human mannequin. Tiffany was in charge of our logistics. She'd show up daily in a different luxury car, her trunk overflowing with designer goods and gourmet groceries. From Wagyu beef to French truffles, her goal was to fatten me up into a happy, rich guy. But she couldn't cook to save her life and had nearly blown up my kitchen several times. The cooking duties ultimately fell to Ashley, and surprisingly, her food was actually pretty good. Luna was our online guardian angel. She'd taken over everything in my apartment, from the smart locks to the robot vacuum. When the delivery guy arrived, a robot opened the door to collect the food. Any suspicious person approaching my floor would trigger an alarm on my phone. She even managed my investment products on the side, increasing my assets by 3% in just 1 week. Ethan Miller, a man who just wanted to be a slacker, was now living a king-like, or more accurately, prisoner-like, existence, cared for by 5 women around the clock. I often found myself sitting alone on my balcony, staring out at the Hudson, contemplating my life. I was supposed to be living out the first half of a Cinderella Man story, so how did it turn into a crazy urban rom-com? One day, I was zoning out on the balcony when Raven floated over, offering me a glass of her homemade dark matter beverage, which was essentially Coke mixed with squid ink. You're troubled. Your eyes tell me so, she said, sitting beside me, legs curled on the chair. Anyone would be troubled, I muttered, taking a sip of the murky drink. Its taste was indescribable. Is it because of them or her? Raven's gaze suddenly sharpened. I knew exactly who she meant. Victoria Sterling. The name pricked my heart like a tiny needle. Honestly, the chaos of the past few days had almost made me forget about the Ice Queen CEO. Her world felt so far removed from my current life. Her world was cold numbers, rigid contracts, and endless corporate battles. My world, though, was Ashley's sweat, Evelyn's data, Raven's paints, Tiffany's cash, and Luna's code. It was messy, but it was certainly lively. It's all in the past, I said flatly. Is it? Raven let out a soft, knowing laugh. A woman you willingly signed a 3-year personal services agreement for. Can she really be forgotten so easily? I don't believe your soul's color has completely changed. I fell silent. Yeah, why? I had certainly agreed to it to escape Tiffany's relentless pursuit, but a city as big as New York offered a million ways to disappear. Why had I specifically chosen Victoria Sterling's contract? Perhaps it was because the first time we met, despite her coldness, there was a trace of weariness and loneliness in her eyes that I'd never seen in anyone else. In that moment, on a whim, I felt we were kindred spirits. She needed a shield. I needed a safe harbor. We clicked. For 3 years, we lived under the same roof, yet we were like the most familiar strangers. She had her battles, I had my quiet corner. Our only interaction was playing the doting couple in public. I thought I'd grown used to it, grown numb. But when I signed my name, took the check, and walked out of that building, was there really no other emotion in my heart besides the joy of freedom? I didn't dare to dwell on it. Just then my phone rang. It was Sarah Jenkins, the emotionless woman who was always trailing Victoria Sterling. I frowned and answered. Mr. Miller. Sarah's voice was as formal as ever. Ms. Sterling would like to see you. No, I flat out refused. The contract's over. We're square. Ms. Sterling said she can offer you another $100 million. I froze. What did that mean? What did she want? To drown me in money and re-sign me for another 3 years? Tell her I don't need the money, I said coldly. Ms. Sterling anticipated that response. Sarah's tone seemed to waver slightly. She said if you refuse to meet her, she will come to you personally. She also said, she knows you're having quite the party over there. My heart sank. She knew. She knew about the circus I had going on here. I hung up, my face grim. Raven watched me, a smirk playing on her lips. See? What did I tell you? The real storm is just beginning. The final act of your tragic hero story is finally about to unfold. It's glorious. I didn't feel glorious at all. Victoria Sterling wasn't Tiffany Harrington. She wouldn't crash a sports car into a fountain. She was a true shark. Once she locked onto something, she'd tear her prey apart with the most precise, ruthless methods. What did she want? Did she feel offended that her discarded trash, was suddenly being fought over by so many? Or did she simply believe that her possessions, even unwanted ones, couldn't be touched by others? I didn't know. But I knew one thing. My slacker life was truly, utterly doomed this time. The next day, Victoria Sterling arrived. She didn't make a grand entrance like Tiffany, nor did she give any warning. She simply arrived like a regular visitor in a discreet black Audi, parking downstairs. But her arrival sent a 12.0 earthquake through my protection agency. Luna was the first to detect her. Alert! Alert! Level 1, threat detected. Target, Victoria Sterling. Threat level, SSS. My TV, computer, phone, even the smart fridge screen, all began flashing red alerts. Ashley, who was using me as a spotter for her squats in the living room, immediately dropped me and adopted a defensive stance. Evelyn, analyzing the molecular structure of ingredients in the kitchen, burst out, still holding something that looked like a signal detector. Raven, meditating on the balcony, her eyes instantly lit up, filled with anticipation. Tiffany, who was polishing her new diamond necklace with a $100 bill, leaped off the sofa, screaming, "That wicked woman is here. She wants to steal my Ethan back." My head was pounding. Everyone calm down. Calm down. I tried to regain control, but no one was listening. Ding dong. The doorbell chimed. All 5 women, plus me, 6 people, 16 eyes were fixed on that door. The air practically solidified. I took a deep breath, walked over and opened it. Outside, Victoria Sterling stood quietly. Today, she wasn't in a suit. She wore a beige trench coat, her long hair casually draped over her shoulders, her face devoid of makeup. It softened her usual sharp edges, making her seem a little more approachable. But her eyes remained cool and distant. Her gaze swept past me, assessing the lineup behind me. When she saw the tensed Ashley, the gadget-wielding Evelyn, the smoky-eyed Raven, and the openly hostile Tiffany, her brow furrowed almost imperceptibly. Finally, her eyes returned to me. "May I come in and speak?" Her voice was soft, but carried an undeniable air of command. Before I could answer, Tiffany lunged forward like a cat protecting its food. "You can't come in. You're not welcome here. Ethan is mine." Victoria didn't even glance at her, addressing only me. "Regarding the risk assessment of your various investment products, I believe we need to discuss them. One of them, for instance, is a fund under my company. I have the authority to make it drop to 0 within 24 hours. My entire body tensed. This was a naked threat. I gritted my teeth, stepping aside. "Come in." "Ethan," Ashley exclaimed, alarmed. I gave her a hold-on look and ushered Victoria inside. Victoria walked into the living room as if entering her own domain. She shed her trench coat, casually draping it over the sofa, then settled into the armchair opposite me, legs crossed. Her posture was elegant, yet radiating an intense pressure. Hello, I am Ethan Miller's former fiancé. She spoke, her voice not loud, but it quieted the entire living room. Ex-fiancés should act like ex-fiancés. What are you doing here? Tiffany huffed defiantly. Victoria finally looked directly at her, her eyes holding a hint of pity, as if observing a petulant child. Ms. Harrington, that prime piece of real estate on the west side your father wanted last quarter, ended up in my hands. If you don't want Harrington Industries' quarterly report to look exceptionally poor, I suggest you stay quiet. Tiffany's face instantly flushed crimson. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Victoria then turned to Evelyn. Dr. Reed, Singularity Tech's Panopticon project is quite intriguing. If Sterling Corp invests, it could not only resolve your privacy compliance issues, but also open up overseas markets for you. The prerequisite, of course, is your immediate departure. Evelyn's expression shifted. She adjusted her glasses, her gaze behind the lenses filled with internal struggle. Next was Ashley. Ms. Thompson, your gym chain is currently seeking series of funding, correct? I happen to know several excellent investors. Finally, Raven. As for you, Ms. Blackwood, I have little interest in art. However, I could acquire all of your works and then set them ablaze. I imagine that would be a grand, aesthetically destructive performance art piece. Wouldn't you agree? Raven's perpetually mischievous smile froze on her face for the first time. Clean, precise, and lethal. This was Victoria Sterling. She never wasted words, only used the most direct and effective methods to solve all problems. In the living room, a deathly silence reigned. Ashley's fists clenched and unclenched. Evelyn's computer screen scrolled wildly with data, seemingly calculating pros and cons. Tiffany was on the verge of tears. Raven stared at Victoria with a complex mix of anger and exhilaration. For the first time, they had encountered an adversary they couldn't possibly fight with their usual methods. As for you, Victoria's gaze shifted to the TV screen on the wall. Ms. Chun, I know you're highly skilled, but you should also be aware that physical isolation is the ultimate firewall. I have 1,000 ways to ensure you never touch an electronic device again. Luna's chibi avatar on the TV screen stopped flickering for the first time. Watching all this, a nameless fire ignited within me. I walked in front of Victoria Sterling, positioning myself between her and the women whose faces held varying expressions. Victoria Sterling, what exactly do you want? I asked, each word deliberate, my voice quiet but sharp as an icicle. Victoria looked up at me. It was the first time she'd had to look up at me. In her eyes, for the first time, there was an emotion I couldn't decipher. Not coldness, not mockery, but something complex, something beyond my understanding. Come back, she whispered 2 soft words. What? Come back to me. She looked into my eyes, repeating, I'll give you double the price. No, 5 times. Name your price. I actually laughed, a bitter, angry sound. I glared at her, my nails digging into my palms. Victoria Sterling, do you actually believe that everything in this world can be measured by money? That every person can be bought and sold with a contract? Isn't that how it works? She countered, her tone utterly matter-of-fact. No, I practically yelled. I'm telling you, every single person standing here today, they might be weird, they might be crazy, they might be causing me a ton of trouble. But I paused, glancing back. Ashley was looking at me with worried eyes. Evelyn had put down her instrument and stood beside me. Tiffany, though scared, bravely glared back at Victoria Sterling. Raven's eyes glittered with an unusual light. And on the TV screen, next to Luna's avatar, a line of text appeared, attempting to breach Sterling Corp's firewall. A bitter taste rose in my throat. But they're living, breathing people. They cry, they laugh, they make a fuss, and I'll stand here and confront you for a good-for-nothing like me. And you, Victoria Sterling, what am I to you? A contract? An asset? Something you can just brush off with a check when you don't need it anymore. My voice echoed in the spacious living room. The color drained from Victoria Sterling's face. She stared at me, her lips moving, but no sound came out. In those perpetually calm, unreadable eyes, for the first time, something akin to panic flickered. She seemed about to say, just go. I cut her off, my voice laced with exhaustion. Take your money, your contracts, your corporate empire, and disappear from my world. I don't want to see you again. I looked at her carefully constructed facade, and a wild idea solidified in my mind. I wasn't letting this go. I turned, and from beside Tiffany's $200 million check, I picked up the $100 million check Victoria Sterling had given me. Under everyone's shocked gaze, I tore it in half with a loud R.I.P. Then I tore it again, and again. Finally, I scattered the pile of shredded paper gently in front of Victoria Sterling. Now we're square, I stated. Time in that moment stood still. The scattered paper shreds drifted down slowly, like a belated snow. Victoria Sterling sat there, unmoving, letting the fragments representing 100 million fall onto her hair, her shoulders. Her face was utterly devoid of expression, but her eyes, like a bottomless ancient well, churned with a tempest I couldn't comprehend. Ashley and the others stared dumbfounded. Tiffany's mouth hung open. She stammered, You're insane? That was $100 million. Yes, $100 million. I had personally shredded my slacker dream, but I didn't regret it one bit. Because just now, in the instant I tore the check, I saw something flicker in Victoria Sterling's eyes. Not anger, not humiliation, but heartbreak. A genuine, raw pain, as if her heart had been abruptly squeezed. In that moment, something clicked for me. I've hit the jackpot, I murmured as if to myself. Victoria Sterling suddenly looked up at me. I offered her a wry smirk, a cold laugh escaping my lips. You bought out our past for $100 million, but they filled my present with 100 million kinds of trouble. I'd say on this deal, I've hit the jackpot. That sentence, like the final straw, shattered all her composure. She stood up, didn't look at anyone else, didn't even grab her trench coat. She stumbled, practically fled, out of my apartment door. I heard the click of her heels in the hallway, fading from near to far, growing more frantic, then disappearing with the soft whoosh of the elevator doors closing. The entire world finally went quiet. I let out a long, slow breath, feeling as if all the strength had been drained from me, and flopped onto the carpet. Then, 5 pairs of hands, fumbling all over, helped me up. Ethan, you were amazing. Ashley's eyes were full of stars. Emotional outburst index reached threshold. While illogical, the effect was significant. Evelyn adjusted her glasses, a faint smile playing on her lips. For that performance, I'd be honored to paint your portrait for the rest of my life. Raven declared excitedly. Boo! Ethan, you actually tore up $100 million for me. Tiffany sobbed dramatically, though I suspected she might have misunderstood something. On the TV, next to Luna's avatar, a red heart emoji popped up. I looked at them and smiled. A genuine, relaxed smile. Maybe my slacker life was completely gone. But you know what? This wasn't so bad either. Epilogue 1 month later. My life continued in its bizarre, chaotic yet structured rhythm. Ashley had become my exclusive fitness trainer and chef. Evelyn was my health consultant and financial advisor. Luna handled the actual transactions. Raven had appointed herself my image consultant, forcing me into various artistic outfits daily. Tiffany, meanwhile, sponsored all our entertainment, from booking entire movie theaters to chartering yachts for ocean cruises. And I, under the meticulous care of these 5 women, had actually gained 5 pounds. One evening, in a rare moment of peace, we were all curled up in the living room, watching a movie. Ding dong, the doorbell rang. Resigned, I got up to open the door, figuring it was another delivery guy stopped by Luna's smart security system. I opened the door. Outside stood someone I never expected to see again, Victoria Sterling. She was wearing simple loungewear, slippers on her feet, and, in her hand, she was dragging a huge suitcase. She looked a bit tired, but her eyes were remarkably bright. She looked at me, then at the 5 heads poking out behind me, and took a deep breath. Then she did something that shocked me, and probably the entire world. She bowed deeply to me. I'm sorry. Her voice, though trembling slightly, was incredibly clear. I'd like to apply to join. The entire living room fell utterly silent. I've done my research, Victoria Sterling said, lifting her head. Her cheeks were flushed, but her gaze was unwavering. Based on your current asset appreciation potential and the emotional deficit I caused, the severance package I initially offered was insufficient. As she spoke, she pulled a black card from her pocket and pressed it into my stiff hand. This contains $900 million. Consider it a makeup payment. I request to acquire the minimum share in this Ethan Miller Life project. With that, she didn't wait for our reactions. She dropped her suitcase and turned, practically bolting into the elevator. I stood there, clutching the cold black card, staring at the huge suitcase by the door, then at the 5 women behind me, who had all turned to stone. My brain, for the third time, completely short-circuited. And